Greetings in the name of the Almighty God, and you're welcome to the Vibes with me, Mr. Francis O. 30 years ago, Nelson Mandela took the black people out from the South African apartheid. But today, let's take a look and see, is still apartheid in South Africa and racism or not?
In fact, why don't you take up the opportunity? Why would you come and make your fortune here in South Africa when, as you've described it, you could be making a fortune in Zimbabwe? Why are you here?
Because I'm part of the problem in Zimbabwe. My attitude of thinking that I had to come and take up the opportunity that was offered to me here
So why don't you go
instead
home?
of minding
May I ask you that? Why do you not
I am
go
going
home?
home. But right now I've also got family in South Africa. I've got South African children, and those South African children don't just allow me to just stand up and leave, but I do have projects that I'm taking part in Zimbabwe because I've learned that those resources are the most important thing.
If you have such faith in your country, in Zimbabwe, I would say and I would think you would get up and you would take your family and you would go and fix up the future of Zimbabwe. If you're saying there's land, if you're saying there's minerals, if you're saying there is so much wealth and opportunities for you there, you're living a contradiction.
No, I'm not living a contradiction.
You certainly are. By sitting here, you're living a contradiction.
You that why,
because people are suffering in Zimbabwe.
So why are people not
languishing
Why
here?
are people not going to the Netherlands? Why are Germans not going back to Germany? Is it because their countries are bad? Is it because they're running away from problems in the UK or in the States? Why aren't Europeans going? What are you doing here?
I live here. This is my home. I'm not running away from it.
Why are you living here instead of Europe? Why did your great-grandparents come here instead of Europe?
We're not talking about grandparents. We're talking about me.
No,
we're talking about you.
You've made it sound like a Zimbabwean needs to go back to Zimbabwe to show that Zimbabwe is working. So why are Europeans not going back to Europe? Why are Asians not going back to Asia? Why are they staying in South Africa?
The context of the conversation.
So this lady is trying to say that the man from Zimbabwe have to go back to Zimbabwe. But this lady herself, his parents, may be coming from Holland or England or wherever, because there's no white man come from South Africa. Is that right or not? Leave your comment down there, but don't insult anyone. Now let's move on to see what is going on in South Africa. Even the apartheid, most of them, their grandchildren and their children, how are they living?
To see white people in South Africa barefoot in a settlement in a park, that's blowing my mind.
Yeah.
Because that is not what we see across the pond. I mean, we don't see that in Europe. What's the common thread? What normally brings people here?
I don't know. I think because they lost everything, there's no jobs for the white people. Did understand me? I'm not racist, or there's no jobs for our white people. You want paycheck away from this place. Because something can happen to you and you will end up here.
The settlement sort of stretches all the way down. Can we have a little look? Do you mind taking me around?
Sure, I will take you around and you can check. Coronation Park, it's like a white squatter camp.
Yep.
It's like you can stay here and we will look after you.
Do they build their own shacks? Do they have to pay to be here?
No, they don't pay to be here.
That's literally a shed. Is someone living this?
In the back of it, yeah.
Wow. How many people are there in Coronation Park?
287.
Hello.
We're running on generators. We haven't got power yet.
With no proper sanitation and dozens of stray animals roaming around, health is a real concern.
You know what? You know what? If that's what I say, and I say it today, if our fathers and our fathers treated black people like normal people and didn't let them work like slaves and treat them like dogs, maybe it would be different today. That's the way it's life. Because it's time now for us to pay for what our fathers did. And there's nothing you can do about that.
Irene strikes me as being resigned to her fate, but her son Gerry is desperate to get his family out of here.
Your mum said that she thinks it's almost a little bit like a balance now. It's almost more fair for the black people. Do you agree with that or disagree?
I think that's bullshit. 20 years ago, I still had fuck all. So now I've got nothing. Now they think it's balanced out. What happened years ago with the black people and the white people was nothing to do with me. I wasn't there. I didn't fight the battles with the white people and the black people.
So you're saying your generation have done nothing to deserve this? Is that how you feel?
Yeah, that's how I feel. Most white people learned black people the things they know today, especially in my company as well. And at the end, They walk out, get a better job with my knowledge, and we sit in the shithole where we are today.
But they feel marginalised. They feel that they're still suffering from the people that caused the apartheid, you know.
The time when it was like the Boere, when they call themselves Boere, had the country in their hands. There was more food in our country, more job opportunities.
That was also the apartheid, though, right? When the Boer was in charge.
Yeah, but
So
they still the black people had jobs, and they were still.
But had no rights, though.
Yeah, they didn't have rights. But even though white people, what rights do we have?
No, but then at that time, it wasn't anything like now.
Yeah, it wasn't.
Can't compare
I
those
can't say because I wasn't there. It's a black government, it's a black country. They don't want white people here. That's what I think.
Some of the stuff that he said made my blood boil. I don't agree with his views, but he wants a better life for his son, and he feels that the way things are, that's just not going to happen.
So this is example to all of us. It doesn't matter whom you try to cheat, because when the apartheid came to South Africa, they removed them from their land and take over and seize everything because of gold. And now you see how most of their children are suffering in South Africa. Today, there is a city in South Africa, and that city is just white people living there. Why is it like this? Is South Africa free, or they are still in the hands of apartheid?
Perhaps let me just pose the question clearly. Is Orania about preserving a particular race, or is it about preserving a particular culture and heritage?
So that's a common misconception, is that Orania is associated with all kinds of racial movements that there are around the world. But Orania is a cultural movement. Being an Afrikaner is much more complex in terms of culture, in terms of shared history, in terms of religion that we practice together, in terms of language. And also the little things, the nuances that people sometimes miss about the culture, the things that we do together, the way we socialize and so on. But Orania is in the first place a culture town. It's a town with a very specific goal, and that goal is to preserve Afrikaner culture and also to build it out.
All right, so Orania then, the way I understand you, certainly is a non-racial community. Am I right?
Well, it's a culture community, yeah, so that's the main focus.
Someone asked then the question, how is it that this town, this place, Orania, is purely full of white people?
Well, to be honest, I haven't ever met a black person that wants to come and live here. You should ask them why they don't have that interest. But yeah, I mean the Afrikaner culture is also, well, it's the people who wants to come and live here and associate with the idea. It's white people. It's not a question of putting up gates and telling who must come here and who mustn't. It's a question of the persons that's actually coming to live in Orania made the choice themselves, and those who come here must freely associate with the idea.
Peter, let's give a living example. A community member or a member of this community marries outside of Orania, and they happen to marry a person who looks like me, a black person. Would they be allowed to come and build their home inside Orania?
The official statement would be yes. I suppose people will need that spouse would also need to assimilate in the Afrikaner culture, because we have the specific goal and Article 235 in the Constitution as well, that we may and we are allowed to be an Afrikaner community. But in theory, the answer would be a yes. In practice, if they will be welcomed by everyone in the community, I mean, even in the rest of South Africa, you will have struggles with certain mixed couples. The one thing I want to say is it's such a oversimplifying of a complex system to talk in terms of black and white. I think South Africa.
Let's not go too much into detail.
Yeah. Okay.
Because I think what people are interested to know is, are black people welcome to come and build inside Orania?
If they are willing to assimilate and become Afrikaners and show the willingness to be that, the answer would be a yes.
Leave your comment down there and don't forget to subscribe. My name is Mr. Francis O, and this is The Vibes. May God bless you. Until the next time, God bless and God bless.